Perfect. So, welcome to Pax Europiana. I'm very honored to welcome a very special guest today, and it's Adrian Shehu, the leading entrepreneur of technology in Albania, who has built up a very impressive company. And I'm very welcoming you. You are one of the leading personalities in the business communities of Albania. I welcome you, and I want to give you the opportunity to introduce you now. Please, Adrian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gunter, for this interview. I appreciate it. I'm honored. And I'm in Albania. I'm running a company which is a system integrator, infrastructure company, and we mainly deal with air traffic control. Also running projects with a high technological content. So my background is in telecommunications and my professional background. And I've been managing different companies along my career, let's say, mostly but always in the technological domain.
Adrian, let me ask you about the transition, because you were also in 1990 when Albania turned to democracy. You were also present, and you are one of the co-founders of the Democratic Party. So you are also engaged very much in that period. Can you describe how Albania joined democracy?
Yeah, that's a really interesting part of the Albanian history and very important part of it. And definitely it was a very challenging time. I was at that time I was teaching at the university, the Polytechnic University of Tirana, and the students of the Polytechnic University were among the ones who just triggered all the student protests at the time, and the students were the carrier and the promoters of the democratic processes in Albania in the 90s. And I was close to the students and close to all this kind of environment, let's say, which were seeking to have a substantial total change in the country's political infrastructure. So at the time, let's say this part of the Albanian society, the universities mainly were pretty much involved in the change. And at the point, we came to pluralism, and the Democratic Party was established, and among other ones, I was with. Among them to sign in for this new party and to have it happen and the register. And this was a kind of big change in the country. At that time, we were coming from a very, very, very rigid communism, which was, I would say, worse than all the other East European countries. And so it was the transition to democratic society was not an easy thing. And despite the change of the pluralism, also the overall change of the country required a number of years, and was kind of pretty much a challenging process. So different kind of problems. Starting with legislation, with economic problems, and with the organizational leadership and so on. But the main problem was that the mentality of the people. It takes time to change it. So living and having this all this, let's say. 50 years in a kind of closed society, it let's say influences the other steps. So in few words, it took a lot. It was a big challenge and a big effort of the Albanian population to make that happen.
It was very difficult transition for Albania. In 1996, that was also a very difficult year. You had the leadership to create your own company and started your company TCN. Why did you take this risk, and what was the situation at the start of your company creation?
Look, yeah, in the 1986 was started TCN, and that was a decision of mine at the time to move into the private sector. I mean, I was working before that in the state-owned companies, always in the telecommunication domain. And then, so we established this one because, I trust in the free market and in the competition and the entrepreneurship of the people, so the free initiative. So was kind of step to get into this environment, to get into the market, into the technology, and to do what I could do best in order to, I mean, beyond the particular company, but to influence the overall market in the country. So that was the main reason why to start that. And it started very kind of simple thing, was kind of pretty much IT related. We made initially was an agreement with IBM at the time, and an agreement with Motorola. And because I was coming from the telecom sector, therefore it was kind of I was feeling comfortable in the telecommunication and in the IT. So and that was the beginning. We were just a very few people, very modest office, and that's how it started. Later on, we developed and so forth, but the start was challenging, was difficult, and obviously, I mean, talking about 25 years ago, I mean, it was quite a different environment.
Absolutely. And then came also the difficult years with the Kosovo War, with the NATO liberation of Kosovo. And then it was, I think, difficult to grow a company. Can you describe how the context was?
Yeah, sure. The biggest difficulty is that, the market, the country is small, and the market at the time was not much developed. Therefore, the demand was small. And in order to grow a company, you need the environment where to grow it, and you need to have demand and for the products and services. So this is what major reason and a major, let's say, impediment for fast growth. But that's was kind of common base for everybody. So the competition was a good factor that helped us to move forward. The war in Kosovo was was shaking a little bit the whole region here, and it had at the end a positive effect. A positive in the terms that it was a major change in the regional infrastructure. It was a major change also in the mentality of the people, in the goals, and in the understanding of the people. So it was the impact was not just military. It was not just simply related to administrative things, but the creation of Kosovo as an independent state. The message behind that was that things that we could not imagine some years ago were becoming reality. And so it was a very huge positive impact, even in the mindset of the people. So this is what I recognize as a kind of initial and important impact. On the other hand, then, having Kosovo, a neighboring country, we could then develop into Kosovo market, and we could, let's say, start operating in the cross-border environment. And that was because that was our first, let's say, let's call it the international activity. So we moved to doing work in Kosovo in the early 2000 years. So just not far from after the war. And so it was the first time we were working outside of it. And later on, that became a major strategy line of the company in order to work internationally and to expand internationally for the type of systems and services that we provide. And now, I mean,
in the year 2000, it was the time for reconstruction and for normalization of the Albanian economy. And your company is a very important technical provider also of systems integration for the airspace and also for the defense industry. Can you describe a little bit how then the boom phase of the 2000s, the reconstruction developed, and how your company could also grow in the important sector of airspace control for Albania?
Yeah, look, again, the year 2000 and on was kind of real impact in the country economy. So the country was recovering from previous difficult situations in '97, and then a new development trend became real, and a lot of things started to happen in the whole country's economy. And yeah, sure. In this context, we are, technology provider, and technology was pretty much the need or demand for technology was pretty much increased because that goes in parallel with the development of the country, and therefore we were able to get involved in more sophisticated and complex projects, which from one side helped us to grow, obviously, and from the other side we learned a lot. We learned a lot how to deal with big complex projects, situations, different partners, and so. And in those years we developed, which was a kind of important aspect of the growth, developed a lot of relationships with the major companies, big companies in Europe and in the United States. And so at that point, when you have such relationships, and that becomes an asset that helps you to grow more. Because obviously we do not intend to reinvent the wheel. So we base our success in the cooperation with the other partners and with the companies that we work with. So we don't try to do things alone. We do them in cooperation. And in this context, let's say we started to have a focus initially in the air traffic control. Air traffic control has been always a domain where the high tech was required, was mandatory. And there is a lot of regulation related to that. So you need to match it. And so we started slowly, obviously, and with the small projects with the Albanian Agency for Air Navigation Services at the time, and we did also some other few projects, relatively small, and then it grew progressively. We were then involved in a big project as a subcontractor of Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin was had a main contract here for the modernization of the Albanian airspace. And that was a kind of threshold that we passed through that helped us a lot. Again, as helped us to grow, but helped us also to learn. Working with such corporations, and you have to be part of their mechanism, and then that helps you a lot to understand how it works and how it should be, and how we should work. So, because we're really always, and not just us only, but the whole business environment in Albania needs to learn and to learn processes and procedures based on and operations based on regulations. And that the best way to do that is through partnerships, through cooperation with major companies. And we did that, and that turned to be a big advantage for our later on. And so that was kind of change point that we moved into the traffic control domain and into the airports activities. So which together you can call them kind of mission critical processes and operations.
Adrian, in 2004, it was the year when NATO enlarged with 7 new countries in Europe, and it was also decided that Albania will join, and ultimately in 2009, Albania also joined NATO. But I'm sure there was a lot of technology need to upgrade everything and the whole system of the Albanian NATO preparation. And I think you were then finally also a NATO certified supplier officially. And can you describe a bit how the process of NATO membership of Albania worked from the technology side?
Yeah, sure. Look, we had a kind of, after 2004, 7 countries joined NATO, which was a big expansion of NATO. That was the turn of the Croatia, Albania, and Macedonia, actually. And there is a long preparatory phase. So it's not that you join NATO from today to tomorrow. There's a preparatory phase which is related to a number of things which are administrative, legislative, but also technology-wise. So you have to be prepared. So when you join NATO, you are able to be interoperable with the other NATO member countries, and this is mandatory. So in these years from 2004 to 2009, a number of things and projects happened in Albania, just starting to align the technology used by the Albanian armed forces with what NATO was required, which was the NATO standard. And then it happened, I mean, in 2009, Albania became a member of NATO. And in 2010, we reached a frame agreement with NATO. So DCM is a company. And that was really a very important milestone in our development and in our increase. So that means that we passed through a due diligence process, obviously, and then we became eligible to participate into NATO projects, NATO including information systems. So that was really an important change, let's say, in our profile, and then we became much more involved into the defense projects and defense activity, technology-wise activities, let's say. So we started to do initially some small projects with NATO as a direct contractor, and then also we had the chance to partner with other companies, big companies, and get involved in bigger NATO projects. So we were working. We started working in Albania, but we did also a number of projects in Brussels at NATO at the time, and we did a project in Afghanistan. That was a big one, actually. We stayed 3.5 years in Afghanistan, and we were teaming with a U.S. company, and involved in the information processing of the headquarters of NATO in Kabul and Kandahar. And so obviously this requires security clearance and all this very strict internal processes that NATO follows. in order to award your contract and then you have to follow the other implementation regulations and the restrictions that are related to the project execution. So from that time we did I mean, we have been growing the relationship with NATO, and which is now pretty much solid. I'm really glad about that. And we have actually 4 or 5 projects going on only with NATO. And in the meantime, we have been working in different, we're eligible now to work with NATO in all NATO member countries. And in other countries with NATO is active. So we have projects in Hungary, we have a project in Italy, we have had projects in Belgium. And now we're having a project, a big one actually, in Netherlands, always with NATO. And then in other countries like Kosovo, like Macedonia, we have NATO military projects now executing by Macedonia, as Macedonia became a NATO member. We had another one in Montenegro, always related to NATO and so forth. So it's been a kind of a really good development and has helped us to strengthen the company and to tune the strategy. So we're now pretty much focusing on military projects, but not just military, but military public safety and whatever is mission critical and security and safety related projects. So that's a big focus of ours now, which, let's say, encapsulates the all activities we have been doing, including traffic control or including the airport and so on. I mean, all of them as a common denominator have the very high requirements and the very high standards you have to follow in order to successfully implement and to be certified afterwards. So all these kind of projects, they need a clearance and certification manufactured by international organizations. So it's not something like you can skip any detail. You have to focus on everything.
It's quite a success story from a small technology startup in '96 to be a NATO supplier in the defense technology. So congratulations. Let me also ask you, Adrian, about your activities in Albania itself, because you have been many years also serving as a board member of American Chamber of Albania, and you were also a driver to promote the digitalization and reforms of the e-government in Albania. How successful was that, and what's your opinion about the digital progress of Albania?
Yeah, I mean, I've served for 6 years actually in the board of the American Chamber of Commerce in Albania. American Chamber is a important business organization. It's very well organized, working by the books, and having an impact in the business and economic life and the environment in the country. So I was in the board and let's say together with the other members and the staff and so, and we had put a lot of efforts to improve in general the business climate in Albania. And specifically the digitalization and the focus on the digitalization is quite important. And I believe that for countries like Albania, so small countries with let's call it in a fast developing trend, the digitalization is a very important factor that can help them. So as soon as you embrace these processes and this trend and the better it is for the country. that's not an easy thing anyway. So it's easier to say than to do it. It requires efforts, it requires resources like human resources, financial resources. But the output of that is very much positive for the country. So Albania has in the last 10 years, let's say, Albania has made a lot of progress in the digitalization. And country has had a focus in that. So a number of things have happened, even from the governmental point of view. So a lot of services and other activities are possible online and in digital ways, but also the businesses, the companies, they have introduced or have been trying and have been partly successful to introduce all new principles based on technology in managing the companies, managing the business, and the relationships. So there is definitely a positive development in the country, and the trend is positive. Perhaps might have been a more efficient process in terms of reaching more results along these years with some better strategies. But this is step-by-step process, and we have spent a lot of efforts to develop in this direction. But on the other hand, we need to improve the efficiency, to tune the goals that we have to implement to reach, and the methodologies. So but definitely that's a process, and that's a direction that we must follow. It's a must for this country. And it has different aspects of it. I mentioned the financial resources, which it requires some financial resources, but they repay very fast. So investing into technology and the digital economy and the, let's say, digitalization of the economy in general, that's something which really generates results and pays off for all the investments done either by the government, so publicly, or by the private companies. And so we're experiencing different situations like now. So we're looking at the government, which is spending a lot of money in this direction, and that's a good thing. Spending them more efficiently is a better thing. And but we see also which, and I'm really happy about that. We see also investments from the private companies into the digitalization. They are smaller, but it's okay. I mean, it's the fact that the private companies understand the importance of that. That's something which has a good impact in the coming. It will have a good impact in the coming future.
One of the big projects, Adrian, was also the digitalization of public procurement. And Albania was a kind of a pioneer to have e-procurement. How successful is this? And was that really changing the public sector?
Yes, look, we were a pioneer in the public procurement. So we had a electronic public procurement among the first countries in the region, let's say. Absolutely, that's a good thing. And it's pretty much easier, and it helps a lot all the companies involved in this in the public procurement processes. So that's really a good thing, and it helped a lot in the improvement, let's say, of the overall business line. Nevertheless, the public procurement is a very complex thing, and so the electronic procurement, it's okay, it helps, but it doesn't solve all the problems. So you really have to improve all aspects, like legislative, like human, like technological, if you wish, and relate to the public procurement. And so so in order to have the most benefits of a good procurement environment, you need to tackle all the aspects it is related to. So not enough to have just the electronic bidding process, and that's not solve all the problems. Will solve some of the problems. But in order to be efficient and to really, and this is the efficient. It's a totally matter of efficiency. So a matter of good spending of the public money. You really need to address all of those different aspects of the procurement process.
So Adrian, because you know many countries and also the digital industries of many countries, do you think that the Albanian digital sector, basically your competitors, other companies and the providers of internet, is it competitive? Is there a thriving sector of the IT industry in Albania today?
Look, it's not yet very competitive, but it is on a good track. Yes, I've seen different countries and different realities, let's say, related to digitalization. You have pretty much advanced countries like, North Baltic countries like Estonia, for example. It's a very good example of digitalization, very good one. And that's something that we really might have and might keep it as a model. And but also in the region, let's say, there is a very good or better, let's say, a level of digitalization in Macedonia than in Albania. And there is a very fast process in Kosovo. So it's digitizing faster than in Albania. So, and this is something that this country needs to address. So we really need to get involved more, faster, and in a more efficient way into this digitalization. And when we call this digitalization, this is a wide concept that really involves a lot of sectors. And okay, there are. We are facing different problems that doesn't allow us to reach the right speed for digitalization. But okay, this is how it is. These are the challenges we need to really address them. And,
Adrian, you have also been the chairman. You are the chairman of an important initiative which is called the Action Group for Regional Economic Integration, or short Balkan Benelux. And you have been also very active towards Montenegro, Kosovo, and Macedonia in the last decade in this function. And please explain as well how the security situation of Albania has changed with NATO membership of Macedonia and Montenegro, and how the countries are really performing, and how your relation in this country is working.
Yeah, I've been part of this initiative, which is an initiative that promotes the cooperation among these countries and let's say, the common activities and a common approach, especially towards EU and NATO. So all these countries you mentioned, countries that we've had activities and we still have activities, are EU candidates. So we're trying are in a EU membership process, let's say. And the EU membership is a main goal for all these countries. This is good. So this is a kind of common thing of all of that, and it's something that unites them. The EU objective, EU membership objective. So, but to get to EU, which is a complex process, you really need to do a lot of things. One of them is security, and security is really important to be implemented. And the definitely positive development that happened in the last years in this region is the NATO membership of OLUPA. So we had initially Croatia and Albania becoming NATO members together in 2010. Then we had Montenegro. And that was also, Montenegro is a small country, but it's very important in its membership to NATO. And then recently, last year, we had Macedonia. Macedonia faced a number of political problems and issues that had to solve in order which delayed a little bit the NATO membership. But at the end, it was successful, and this was a great achievement for them as well. So the whole, let's say, region, Adriatic region now, including Macedonia, is pretty much has become NATO member and is pretty much implementing all the NATO standards and policies for the security, which means that this has already influenced a lot in improving the overall security in this region and improving the stability, because we have always had stability problems or issues, let's say, related to political or inter-country stability and their relationships. But the NATO, just the fact that they are all of them NATO members, that really improves a lot of things and improve the relations between the countries. At the end, improves the security in the region. Improvement of the security on its turn is beneficial also business-wise. I mean, a secure and safe environment is more welcoming for investors. And investments and foreign investments, direct investments, private investments, they bring development in these countries and in this region. So, and bring development, bring employment, bring a lot of positive things. So, NATO membership was not just, it's not just a military alliance with military effects. It has cascade effects relating pretty much to the economy as well, and to the whole business environment. Indirectly, but it does influence. So all these countries now definitely are much safer and secure than before. A lot of things need to be done still, of course. I mean, this is a process that really need to be followed carefully and consequently. So it's not that we've reached something and now we don't need to do anything. We need to do a lot of things now and to follow all the developments within the alliance, and to follow and to match all the obligations. And one of the obligations is the military expenditure. We need to spend 2% of the GDP for the military. And this is a target that we must work to reach, because it's an obligation that we must comply with. And it's not only for Albania, but also for the other countries around us. And so that's something that we have to address, among other things, and have to follow, let's say, the media policies to ensure that we improve security in the future.
Adrian, let me ask you about the airspace above the countries, above Albania, Montenegro, Macedonia, and Kosovo. How is the situation? Is it one unified NATO airspace already controlled by one command and secured by one command? Or how is the situation of the airspace above the four countries?
Yeah, the airspace is still a complicated, in a complicated situation. So we have to divide between military management of the airspace and civilian management of the airspace. So from the airspace point of view, there is each country has its own airspace, which is defined by international conventions and regulation. and Albania and Macedonia, they do manage their own airspace. So Albania and Macedonia has the airspace navigation agencies which manage and control their respective airspaces. Kosovo does not manage its own airspace, its upper airspace. Kosovo can manage also only the lower airspace. Lower airspace means something related to the airports, to the flights which are landing and taking off the airports, but not the overflights. So, and this is Kosovo. And Kosovo had an agreement with a Hungarian agency for air navigation services. So the Hungarian agency is managing the upper airspace on behalf of Kosovo. Montenegro does not, they do not manage their own airspace either. That is managed by the Serbian SMATSA. It's a Serbian agency for traffic management, which manages the airspace of Serbia and Montenegro. So this is the situation, which is quite complex, and the airspace is pretty much divided. What the best, let's say, perspective would be to have a common integrated airspace, which is also an EU trend, an EU obligation to open skies. And EU is doing this, it's promoting this kind of common and integrated management of the airspace, not only in the Western Balkans, but also in the EU itself. And that's something important and good. From a military point of view, NATO is managing, is responsible for the airspace of each NATO member country. But that is correlated with the civilian part. So there are interchange of information between the civilian airspace control agencies and NATO. So in this domain is also important. Is also in the military. From the military part, is important to develop, let's say, common structure to manage the airspace. We've been working in Montenegro, for example, for the military airspace, for the military management of the airspace. We've been doing the communication system for NATO aircrafts, fighters, whatever, military planes flying the Montenegrin airspace, and all the communication going from there to a NATO command. And we are actually right now doing the same thing in Macedonia. So the project is not yet completed; it will be completed next month. But it's the same thing. So these are, let's say, steps towards the common management of the different countries' airspace for military purposes. But each country should do and provide and put its own efforts to develop in a proper way, in an adequate way, for the military and for the civilian part of the management of the airspace. The civilian part is also a commercial thing, so it generates revenues, and so it's something that each country needs to be pretty much careful and pay attention to the right development.
Adrian, let me ask.
Kosovo and Montenegro are pretty much should be pretty much sensitive about this.
Yeah, it's important to have a common integrated airspace management. It would be much more rational, I think.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you.
Not only a commercial thing, it's also efficiency, it's also safety, it's also security.
Yeah, it's a relatively small airspace, obviously, and it would make sense to manage them together, united in a decency. Let me ask you about the NATO airport in Kučevo, because 2 years ago I read it was announced to have a NATO airport in the south of Albania and to be like an integrated air command. Is that happening, or is that?
That is happening. that is happening. NATO, yeah, it was 2 years ago, and political decision of NATO to develop and to build a NATO air base in Kuchova. And Kuchova is an old air base in Albania, which is geographically speaking suitable for to be transformed into a NATO air base. And so it was a political decision of NATO for that. Very excellent, I mean, very good thing. Then later on was followed by budget allocation. So NATO allocated its own budget, which is also important for such a development, let's say. And it will be fully, I mean, when completed, fully operational base with all the cargo features, fighter features, helicopters, everything. So quite really important. It is still, so the process has evolved. Now it's still in a phase of procurement for the construction works in the base to improve the runway, to improve the other facilities, and to set up new facilities as well. So this is the actual situation in Kuchova, which, okay, it will take, I think, more or less a year to finish this phase and then to go to the other ones. So, I mean, the air base is an air base in general is quite a complex structure with a lot of things involved in it. I mean, it's not just a runway. And okay, it takes time to have a good, really good, efficient, and operational one. But we are on the right track, and so I'm pretty sure that very soon it will be operational.
That's very good news. Adrian, let me also ask you about the progress of digitalization and progress in the countries where you are active, between Montenegro, Macedonia, and Kosovo and Albania, these 4 countries. Which is the real driver of digitalization? Where's the best progress? Because I've seen, for example, Macedonia has done quite a lot in the digital land cadastre, and also in Kosovo some things are happening. So what do you think, what is the best country in digitalization, and what to learn in the region from each other?
Yeah, so look, I mean, it's difficult to say which one in an absolute scale, which one is the best. But I'd say, for example, you're right. Macedonia has a very good system for land registration and cadastral functions, and they have also very good systems for the other functionalities related to the governmental operations. Macedonia has also very good, so it's more, there is a bigger penetration into the practice of digitalization of private companies. I mentioned a little bit before, and I really consider that the kind of important thing. So it's not just the government that has to implement some service, but also the private companies. So Albania is very good in the online services. Provided. So we have the Albania portal, which you can do a lot of things in that. Kosovo is very good in software development, and they have good teams that which are and the outsourcing services. So from other companies, and they're doing that in Kosovo. So, and that's really good thing, because that helps at the end in developing the human resources in the country, and the human resources will lead to a bigger digitalization. So perhaps I think Montenegro is a little bit behind, and but nevertheless, again, I cannot say in an absolute way which one is the best or which one is less involved. But all of them need to put efforts in order to reach a better digitalization and a better digital economy. The other thing I would suggest, or I think is important, is the cooperation between those countries. So, might not be wise to each of them to follow its own way individually. If these countries they get together and set up a strategy, digitalization strategy, a common one, and each of them develops resources in a complementary way. So all of them behave like an entity with a single and synchronized goal. That it will lead to a faster development, a faster digitalization of the whole economy and infrastructure of all the countries. And we will have a kind of, it will be like an equalizer that will have all of them. So each of these countries is a small country in itself. Trying to develop individually, it's okay, but it's not the best option. Coordinating with each other will be the best way to reach a faster process and to be able to achieve the and to get the benefits of a digital economy sooner than just if you try to move individually.
So we have a rather new government in Montenegro and in Macedonia now. They are just 1 year apart. And now it's a new government in Kosovo. Soon there will be a new government also in Albania after the election in April. Do you see a chance for some kind of digital dialogue between the four countries to move in certain sectors to work together in specific areas, like, for example, common customs clearing?
Absolutely. That would be a great thing. So that's definitely important. I mean, yeah, you're right. We have new governments in the whole. I mean, the Macedonia, Montenegro, and Kosovo will have a new government in Albania, and I hope really they understand that they really need to do something seriously and efficiently, and that means that they need to sit together, either virtually or face to face, and to decide to work together in a complementary way. So, I mean, and because again, being small countries, you cannot have resources for everything. So just coordinating them, all of us will be able to reach better results. And it's really, this is a political issue, definitely, that and it's a political will. But the politicians, they have to understand that they will have a lot of benefits by doing this instead of staying isolated in their own, let's say, environment. So to be open, to be open to cooperation, I mean, it's always a good thing.
You mentioned already the possibility of a joint air space management, and that would be very good. But what about the transport of goods? Is there a possibility with digital solution to make it easier to track goods, to work together in the customs area?
Yeah, look, customs area is among the first ones to be addressed because that really it can have an immediate impact in the easy the trade between the countries. So having a common system of customs, that would be really a good thing. Goods coming to Port of Durrës, for example, they should be easy for them to travel to Macedonia without any stops anymore and to get cleared along the way. So this or vice versa, trucks coming from entering Macedonia or transiting Macedonia coming to Albania or Kosovo or whatever. So this is really, customs is an obstacle, typically it's an obstacle to the free trade. So we must make the trade as much free as possible. And it starts with custom processes harmonized among the countries and digitalization makes them makes this possible and makes this more efficient and easy for the goods to travel from one country to the other. So starting with the customs is really important because and having a common digital environment, so information should be transferred easily between the customs of each country in order to make it easy for the goods to travel and to be transferred from one country to the other without further obstacles. And it's like EU, the EU has a lot of efforts and harmonization in the customs of each member state, and that leads to very big benefits for each of the countries. I mean, we should apply a very similar concept.
Let me ask you about digitalization in the transport sectors, because all 4 countries have very expensive highway projects, highway construction projects, and spent a lot of billions into building new highways in Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, and Kosovo. But some countries, I think only Macedonia has a working tolling system, meaning that you have to pay for the highways. There is, I think no other country has a system to pay for the highways. Do you see that in the system of traffic management and of payment for highways, it would be better to work together regionally between all 4 countries?
Look, Macedonia, they have a toll system for highways, but we have it also in one of the highways. The one going to Kosovo, you have to pay a toll. Look, traffic management, it's important, and it's not just the toll itself, because politically speaking, they may decide to remove tolls and to get the money for the maintenance or whatever in other ways, which is one of the options in different countries have. But the important part is how to manage the whole traffic. The whole traffic between these countries is really, there is lack of management even in the individual countries. And since we are in this kind of situation, all of them might think together to define and develop a common management system, which is able to exchange information and to exchange data for the traffic, helping everything, the passengers, helping the goods, helping the trucks, and everything. And will help in lowering the costs for the transfer of goods, and that's really good because there is a direct impact. But on the other hand, it will help to improve safety on the road, which is a major issue in these cases. And safety can be addressed in a common way, and then can be, let's say, improved by using resources located in other countries. So traffic management is absolutely a domain where cooperation can yield very good results. And this is, we're talking about the road traffic, but I expect in the coming future the railway traffic as well. Railway traffic, we have very poor railway network in all these countries. But I strongly believe it will not remain like this. So I'd expect that a lot of efforts, financings, and everything will be put in developing a proper railway network in this region. And this is absolutely something that requires very good coordination and agreements between all the countries involved. And this is also the case when the cooperation and integration among this country of the management systems, digital management systems of these countries, to manage the railways, it's becomes of vital importance. And okay, this is something going to happen. It's not yet there, but these are major, these are projects or development lines of a major importance that require time. So it's something that all these countries need to think now for something that will come in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But they have to start to think about that in order that the whole development of the railway network will be in a proper way, efficient, based on the cooperation between all the countries involved. And it's only this way that they can also get the more resources. So, I mean, typically EU is a major financing entity for the railways, for example. And if you have a scattered network, small ones for each country, that's something that, I mean, it's difficult for EU to deal with each and every of them. But if all these countries, they come up with a kind of common understanding, common policy, and a common project, then approaching the EU and in the relationship with EU or other financing bodies, I mean banks, whatever, development banks, whatever you want, I mean it's become much easier and feasible to get financing. So that's why it's the case to have a real focus on the inter-country cooperation.
So you see a lot of potential for cooperation between the 4 countries in the digital market of the transportation. Let me ask you also about taxation, because all 4 countries have a digital tax system. But how good are they interoperable? How do they work together, especially with cross-border VAT? And are they really synchronized, the 4 countries' VAT systems and digital taxation system? Do you think there's a need for that?
They're not synchronized. So we have different taxation systems, which is not synchronized. And I haven't seen so far any effort to harmonize and say the taxation system. But that's for sure a good idea and important to have to talk about that, to address this, and all these countries to have to harmonize the tax system, or at least the policies, but also the tax levels. So we have pretty much different, somehow different tax levels in all these countries. Having a similar and harmonized tax systems will integrate the market. So all these countries behave like a bigger market. The bigger market is a more interesting market for the investors, and will avoid kind of internal competition for attracting the foreign investors. So having a harmonized tax system and synchronized. So the VAT paid in Albania should be valid in Macedonia or in Kosovo or vice versa. You know? That's kind of harmonization I'm talking about. And that's something really helpful to develop a bigger market, a free market, and to attract much more investments than what single countries can do alone. Because obviously the fiscal system and the tax regime is among the first thing that the investors look at when deciding what to do. And nowadays, you know, I mean, it's the right time to really have an eye on that. So I'm pretty much convinced and positive that the development in these countries, in countries like Albania, will come from investments, direct foreign private investments.
And let me also discuss about the rule of law sector. How is the digital cooperation of the rule of law sector of the 4 countries? That means, for example, if there's a case of money laundering or tax evasion in Kosovo and somebody buys an apartment in Durrës, is there already this kind of agreement between the tax authorities and the cadastre authorities and the law enforcement to work efficiently, exchange data and work interoperable together?
Unfortunately, there is not. But this is for sure right, and how it should be. So, but there is no such synchronization. There is no such exchange of information between the countries. So this situation doesn't help in improving security, because rule of law means security, and there are a lot of domains in this context that can be that the synchronization, information exchange, the digital common platform can help to improve. Like, I don't know, the police, for example, the border police, exchange of information between the border police of all the countries can be very helpful in managing border security issues, or the customs, as we mentioned, or the other criminal activities like money laundering, like I mean, there are a lot of things that common digital platform for exchange of information and management of the management and addressing the various situation can help to improve. So but unfortunately, we are at a very poor level so far for such relationships, because this is something. It's not. I mean, it's not a matter of technology. In fact, it's a matter of goodwill, of political will, to do so. And then comes up with technology-wise, it's not really possible and feasible. It requires a political will in order to improve the relationships based on digital platform of the all law enforcement agencies and also tax agencies. I mean, all the entities involved in promoting a safer environment for all of us.
In Europe, in the European Union, we build now digital common market to have one digital market in all the standards and to unify the digital sector. The question is also the interest to develop one common digital market of these 4 countries together and to have the same standards in digitalization and work closely together?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Which that's very. I mean, each of them should be interested to such approach. And look, because being all of them small countries, that are small markets, having this digital common background helps them to behave like a big market, and to act and to be more interesting market. And having this harmonized regulations, laws, and procedures that's I mean, generates more interest for such markets. And it's better for the investments this side, but it's better for all the companies in this region to interoperate, interchange with each other, and to be more competitive, and even to penetrate other markets like the EU market as well, or other, I mean, on the international scale.
Adrian, one question about this very important is also the question about digitalization of the municipalities. In Macedonia, it was like this, that they have a business-friendly certification of all municipalities, where all the municipalities, also the construction permits, are given online exclusively, and they all get a stamp that they are business-friendly certified municipality. How in Albania and in Kosovo do you think this process has not started, but is also a digitalization of the municipalities happening in Albania?
Look, we have a progress in the construction permits and licenses that you can make the application online. But nevertheless, I believe this is still a kind of partial process going made online. You still need the, let's say, approach to the of any kind to the municipality. But the construction permits and licenses are just one thing of the municipalities. The municipality in this concept has a lot of functions, and digitizing and improving them require digitalization, definitely. So there is, I mean, physical things need have a certain limit. You cannot go beyond, independently of how good you are. So you have to, it's a must for municipalities to provide services as much as possible in a digital way. Okay, on the other hand, this requires also kind of education of the population, because not everybody is, unfortunately, yet able to get use of the digital services. But it's not limited to that. So it's not a matter of just the approach of the citizens to the municipality should be digital online. So that's not enough. It's one thing, but not enough. It's important also on how the municipality itself works internally. So the exchange, management of the information, internal management of information, exchange of information between the different departments and so forth. And everything inside the municipality should be digitalized and automized, so to be automatic. Automatization, the process of automatization is quite a challenge in the goal the municipalities should have in order to improve their efficiency and to improve the services to the citizens. So, I mean, digitalization of the municipality doesn't mean only that the citizens should have online access to the municipality. It's a whole process itself, including or let's say even more, starting with the internal process management in the municipalities. So yes, they have in Macedonia kind of progress and I mean relatively good level of that. We have had in Albania very good progress in that. So number of services are being now online and so forth. But nevertheless, again, the infrastructure itself inside the local government, so inside the municipalities, and the interrelation between them, and the interrelation between the municipalities and the central government should be definitely digitized, and that's the only way to improve them and to overpass the threshold, which are the limitations put by the old methodologies approaches.
Until now in the Corona crisis, everybody talks about digitalization and that's so needed, yeah? And also there's this crisis of schooling, obviously. Can you describe how good digital schooling is working in Albania now, 2021? And do have the schools enough digital equipment?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is the consequence of the pandemic. So the positive thing, so it's not all bad. So the positive thing is that, the pandemic has forced the people to change mindset and to change the habits. Now we have this virtual meetings, for example, that are so common and so, but it's good. They're efficient, you know, and but it's a change in the mindset of people. So this is a good part of it. The pandemic has pushed to more digitalization. This is for sure. One of the aspects is the online education. Now the schools being closed, they're forced to do the lessons online. And there is there is an effort in Albania also, or like in the other countries, to do this, and they're doing that. But for different reasons, the quality of the education online is yet not good enough, and efforts are required to improve it. I believe that even after the pandemic, this kind of things will continue. So people got used to that. I mean, okay, the schools will be reopened and so, but a lot of things, services and classes and lessons will still be available online. Those online teaching will continue. In Albania, but I believe also in the other countries, it needs to be addressed, such a topic, and to not only to add more technology, because that's okay, definitely one of the important things. So you have to have the means to provide the online education, but also to educate the people to get use of this kind of new way of teaching and of learning. So, for example, the teachers, they need to upgrade their capabilities and skills to teach online. It's a different way. Some of them face difficulties, and the students, and they need to be more educated and more oriented to receive knowledge through not conventional channels, and therefore, is this improving the online education has two aspects. One is technological, and one is human resources, capabilities, and habits that have to go both in the same time, improved and addressed.
So let me ask you, Adria, you see also this crisis as a chance for digitalization also for Albania, and now there are new elections coming up. Do you think that Albania can copy a model like Estonia and really leapfrog development with complete embracement of the digitalization agenda like Estonia has done it in the recent years?
Absolutely. That's what I love to see. And that's really good. And yes, we can. This is the answer. But definitely we can. But it's a matter of political will and the right strategy. And it's not very much a matter of money, I would say. So it's not very much, because sometimes the politicians they stay behind the saying, okay, we don't have money, which is not true. It's important how you use the money you have. And so I really hope that the new government, whichever it is, comes up with a very substantial strategy to deeply change the digital environment in Albania, to put serious and significant goals to digitize the whole system and the whole economic and social life in Albania. So Estonia is a very excellent, a very good example. It's an excellent case where digitalization has generated excellent results. And we should follow a similar model. Small adjustments, but a similar model. So, the adjustments might be related to the security, cyber security, for example. That's something which is pretty much related to the digitalization. You have to. It's not enough just to have the services online and digitized and the economy digitized, but you have to provide also a safe environment. because the cyber threats are increasing, and they will increase with the increase of digitalization. And therefore, need to be addressed beforehand. So while you develop, you have to the develop process. So this is one thing, and one side, very important side, to digitize the economy. The other thing is that we are, say, a small country, and we need to have the right approach in the development itself. So this is to say that we must build internal capabilities to provide and to export digital services. So beyond the fact that we implement them and we have a digital environment here, but like Estonia, for example, or like Israel, we need to develop capabilities and to export digital products, starting with software development, starting with how. There are a number of good examples that countries have had a wide approach and built in-house capabilities to develop digital products, either software, basically, or hardware, and then to export. Because that can be an excellent resource for the country. And there is Estonia is an example. We have Israel is an excellent example of that. They're exporting such kind of products, and I'm taking those examples like countries, of more or less the same size of Albania and same size of the other neighboring countries. So these are models that I believe we must follow, because there is proven success now on that has happened, and I mean, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just follow such models.
And Adrian, because Israel has just recently recognized Kosovo, the Republic of Kosovo, and also promised to do some support now. And also Israel, when you see with this health application in the Corona crisis, they were the first one to have this health app where you have really good access. Yeah? Do you think that the cooperation with Israel can be transformative for Albania and Kosovo, Macedonia, to really repeat also this digitalization success of Israel?
Look, I said that's a very good example. That's a very good example of the way they have developed such services and such capabilities in their country. So, first of all, the cooperation can address and can it's kind of knowledge transfer. These countries should try to understand and to follow this kind of model. This is one thing. The cooperation, on the other hand, is with Israel is definitely important, and I'm glad that they finally recognize Kosovo, and this means that this is a new ground for extension and expansion of the cooperation between them and Kosovo and the other countries as well. And then, yes, we should try to maximize the cooperation extension with that, because there are a lot of things we can learn, and also a lot of things that we can we can generate together with Israeli companies and businesses. But that's pretty much on the business level. The political level should only facilitate that. Then the business level, the companies themselves, they will find the ways to cooperate for the mutual benefit of them.
Let me ask you also, does Albania have, just as a curiosity, does Albania have a Corona app as well, and is it working?
Should we say that again?
Application, like a Corona app, like this Israeli health application where you can have a QR code and you enter the places. Does something exist in Albania?
No, we don't have it. And that's a good thing.
That's maybe something to do in the future. The Israelis, everybody, because in Austria, we want to have it now. In Austria, we want to copy the Israeli success model. And so I was wondering if that's something you want to do as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, and that's a legal problem. So in some countries, it can be considered like a kind of a limitation of the freedom rights.
Oh,
And,
yeah. It's the same debate we have in Austria as well.
so yeah, but getting vaccinated it's a good thing and might be a kind of tool to easy, let's say, the other normal social topics.
Yeah, I hope the crisis will be overcome with vaccination and modern technology now very soon, and I wish that. Let me conclude.
Yeah, I think that's a solution. We need to have it over this kind of crisis by vaccination, by that, and then we don't need to talk about this kind of other limitations.
Let me conclude with one final question, Adrian. Thanks a lot for all this leadership from yours and all the information. But let me ask you, what's the three most important questions for the new government now in the area of digitalization? Which sectors do you think are the priority? Where should be the focus in the next 4 years in order to really bring Albania to the digital Albania by 2025?
That's a difficult thing, but, way to the first thing is to digitize the internal governmental processes and the relationship between the citizens and the government, either local government or central government. So this is the first thing. This includes, because this is what I said is a kind of general concept, and this includes the fiscal system, includes the land, cadastral services, includes a lot of things. The other one is the security. So security is an issue nowadays. So we need to digitize and to because I mean, to involve very high technological content to improve security. So police, for example. And that really in Albania really needs significant, substantial technological upgrade. That you may call it digital, but I mean nowadays digital is quite a wide class. So security needs to be addressed as a sector to be digitized. And then the third should be the business relationships with the government and business relationships among them. So, for example, I don't know, digital invoices, digital payments, no cash flow, no cash payments. This kind of things. So the first one is governmental services, governmental functioning internally and the relationship with the citizen. The second, to my opinion, is security and the police and law enforcing agencies. And the third one is business relationship digitalization. Okay, what I mentioned are, again, wide concepts. And in order to be realistic, they need to get detailed and divided into tasks and to goals and so forth. But in a general level, this is what I think.
Very good. I wish that this will all be true and that will be successful. And this vision of Estonia at the Adriatic Sea, this kind of, and also the neighboring countries also to learn from each other. That would be really wonderful because your country is very beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. If it's then digitalized and government is also working like in Estonia, it will be the perfect place to be. And I wish.
For example, Estonia, another excellent example, is NATO has established a center of digital excellence in Estonia.
Oh, very good.
So NATO is, I mean, because the environment was welcoming of such services, and then the approach and the mindset was such positive to digitalization, NATO implemented Center of Excellence for IT and digital research and development in Estonia. That's an excellent achievement of theirs. And really, you know, and somehow we become a little bit jealous.
Imagine one day to have a center for digital.
Yeah.
One day to have a digital
you should have tried to do the same.
Yes,
I
exactly.
tried to have similar thing. They were more smarter than us and more efficient.
And imagine one day a center for digital excellence in Durres or in Flora for NATO. I think everybody would want to be and work there.
Would be something like, you know, it's a multilateral benefit. It's not just the economic benefit. But just the concept is a huge positive thing.
I want to thank you for your vision and also for your 30 years of contribution for the reform of Albania to this digital success story. And also, I think it's still going on. And I think that this will be a prime example for the improvement of the next years as well. What can be achieved in Albania, in NATO member on the way to digital Albania. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I mean, I really appreciate your efforts and all the efforts you have spent in this region and your positive, positive effect and the positive influence, let's say. Really
Look,
good.
Albania, thanks a lot. Albania has overtaken Austria already. You are already a member of NATO and we still have to come. I hope you will welcome us.
We should have also some advantages here and there.
Yeah. But we will do everything for Albania to join the European Union. Be sure about it, and hopefully very soon.
And that will be great. That will be great. So we really appreciate your Austrian efforts to help Albania in joining the EU.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely, that I will do, and that will happen very soon. I'm optimistic on that one.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks a lot for that, and best regards to sunny and beautiful Albania. Enjoy, and thanks for your technology leadership.
See you the next time. Bye.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Bye.